Every reasonable effort has been made to ensure that the content in this video is safe. But as I cannot be in the room with you, the responsibility for participating in any exercise or individual activity rests with you. If you normally modify movements due to injury, pregnancy, physical conditions, please make sure you keep doing so and use pillows, blankets or other objects as props to support your practice. If at any time during this video you feel any unusual pain or discomfort, you should stop exercising immediately. Hello and welcome to this video, which is in the Introduction to Pilates series. In this video we're going to look at core strength in the lower abdomen. In previous videos we've considered core strength in the midsection around the waist and how we can induce the core strength using the lateral breath. In this video we're going to extend the use of the core strength from the midsection down into this portion of the lower abdomen. This is a very important region for engaging muscles in order to stabilize the pelvis, and crucially in terms of Pilates being able to stabilize the lower spine, because of course the base of the spine, the sacrum and the tailbone or the coccyx are wedged into the pelvis. So let's come down onto the mat and we'll just quickly revise our neutral spine alignment lying in supine. And we'll also quickly revise the lateral breath just to get us into the Pilates setup. And then into that we'll add strength in the lower abdomen. So first of all, we've come onto the mat, we just think about aligning the spine and spacing it out. So we can lift the hips up and then bring them to the mat, balance the weight of the pelvis out right side, left side. We can lift the ribs up and lengthen the waist out of the hips, bring the ribs down to the mat, balance their weight out right side, left side. Supporting the head with the hands, lengthening the neck from between the shoulder blades, bringing the weight of the head through to rest on the mat in a centered position. Let's align the legs with the hip joints so we can bring the feet together so the insteps are touching, and then just turn the toes outwards, just a comfortable amount, and then bring the heels in line with the toes. We're going to let the arms rest by the sides, and with the exhalations for 3 or 4 breaths we're going to allow our back muscles to relax so we can feel the weight of the spine sinking into the mat beneath us. And then as we breathe in, we're going to come through into the neutral spine position. So just allowing the base of the spine, the base of the tailbone, to direct to between the heels. So it's as if you've got a little spotlight on your tailbone and it's shining right through to between your heels. And in that position you should be able to feel the top of the back of your tailbone in contact with the mat. The weight of the spine through the back of the waist will not be resting into the mat, but the weight of the spine through the back of the rib cage will be in contact with the mat. And then we should have a fist distance between the chin and the chest so the back of the neck is long and released and the front of the chin is level to the ceiling. So just 2 or 3 breaths allowing your spine to relax into the mat, and as you breathe in, coming into your neutral spine, base of the tailbone directed to between the heels, crests of the hip bones directed to straight up towards the ceiling above you, a little bit of space between your spine and the floor in the back of the waist, the spine through the back of your rib cage in contact with the mat, and a fist distance between the chin and the chest. And then let's spend a moment or two to revise our lateral breathing. So that's where we can really try to relax the nostrils and relax the muscles at the back of the mouth and relax the muscles all through the throat. Just allowing the breath to flow easily into the nostrils, into the back of the mouth, into the throat. And as you breathe out, allowing your throat to relax behind the breath, the muscles within your neck to relax behind the breath, the back of the mouth to relax behind the breath, and the nostrils to relax behind the breath. So keeping the pathway of the breath towards the chest and the lungs as relaxed as you can, gradually letting the mind also focus on the breath being received within the chest. And the pattern that's been looked at for this wide breath, this lateral breath that Pilates uses in the other video, is that we focus on imagining the breath broadening out behind the collarbones and then back towards the tops of our shoulder blades, imagining the breath widening out from the inside, away from the breastbone, across the rib cage, out into the space beneath the shoulder joints and back towards the tips of the shoulder blades. Breathing into the inside of the jagged letter C shape of the floating ribs, so we breathe out to the sides and then back. And then again with the exhalations, a nice long, strong exhalation, breathing out from the top of the breath through the nostrils, then the back of the mouth, then the throat. Breath leaving from the upper chest, mid-chest, depth of the chest. And as we're able to allow our breath to dive into the body freely, coming down nice and deep and gradually widening out to the sides and the back. On the exhalations, as we work this long, strong exhalation from the top of the breath through, we should begin to feel the ribs narrowing in towards the spine on the exhalations, and also from deep within the waist, the muscles at the waist narrowing in towards the spine. In previous videos, we've looked at the hands resting on the waist, the thumbs on the back of the waist, the webs on the sides of the waist, and the index fingers on the front of the waist. And we might just get a little bit more information from the hands about how our waist muscles are following the pattern of the breath. The muscles in the back of the waist, then the sides of the waist, then the front of the waist, engaging in towards the spine. And these muscles we can imagine like a belt that's fastening very firmly around our waist, working deep within the waist. And if your belt's got 10 notches, we're fastening the belt through to about the 7th notch. As you breathe wide, there should be plenty of room for your breath, with keeping your abdomen engaged, because you're really using the capacity of the lungs within your rib cage in order to expand your breath. Now, once we've got the waist working and we've got the lateral breath going, it may be that as a matter of course, our spine has taken up a neutral spine position, or it might be that we just need to check in again with our neutral spine position. We're going to just check that the legs are relaxed in the hip joints, that through the insides of the hip joints, the muscles are relaxed, through the gluteal region that the muscles are relaxed, and that's a sense of spaciousness between the thigh bone and the hip socket. We're going to aim to keep that easy, relaxed feeling in the hip joints and in the gluteal muscles as we begin to work on engaging the core strength muscles in the lower abdomen, as discussed at the start of the video. What needs to happen here is a really broad and wide scoop and hollow. So the hollowing needs to be as powerful, if not more powerful, at the sides of the lower abdomen than through the center. And it tends to be that we're quite strong in the muscles that run between the pubic bone and the base of the breastbone. This kind of tilting or crunching action tends to be one with which we're quite familiar. But these are the muscles through the center of the abdomen, the rectus abdominis muscles. And what we're actually looking for are the muscles to either side of the lower abdomen. And we're looking for the deepest lying one of those muscles to each side. It comes in a right half and a left half, the transversus abdominis muscle. So to help us really work to the outsides of the lower abdomen, there's a technique called the pelvic diamond, where the thumbs come together and the index fingers come together, and we've got this little shape between the hands, which we might think of as a diamond, or which we might think of as the ace of clubs. At all events, we're going to bring this shape onto the lower abdomen, popping the thumbs onto the navel and directing the tips of the index fingers towards the pubic bone, and then the heels of the hands coming out towards the crests of the hip bones. And then keeping our legs relaxed and keeping the gluteal muscles relaxed and aiming to stay in neutral spine. As we breathe out, we're going to try and draw the lower abdomen where it is in contact with the heels of the hands, this part here. We're going to try and draw the lower abdomen away from the heels of the hands. So with 3 or 4 exhalations, see if you can create a little bit of space between the heels of the hands and the surface of the lower abdomen. Now, what tends to work best with this drawing down and back in the lower abdomen is to think about the fact that we've got 3 thick layers of abdominal muscle out to the sides of the lower abdomen. And if you think about this as sandwich of muscles, you're going to try and draw down and back in the lowest layer of this sandwich of muscles, then the next layer up, and then the top layer. Breathing in, and then drawing down and back at the outsides of the lower abdomen, beneath the heels of the hands, the lowest layer, the next layer up, and then the next layer up. And then I think it's easier as you work from deep down and gradually work upwards to get this little bit of separation between the lower abdomen and the heels of the hands. And once you feel that you've got the lower abdomen drawing down and back, you can begin to pull the center down and back as well. So you get a little bit of separation between your thumbs and the navel, and a little bit of separation between the tips of your index fingers and the very base of the lower abdomen. But check that you're not letting that center contraction get ahead of the contraction out to the sides of the lower abdomen, because we really need to get this core strength muscle, the transversus abdominis muscle, activated. And that's a little bit harder to find with our mind into the body than the muscle between the pubic bone and the base of the breastbone, because we don't so often coordinate this muscle out to the sides of the lower abdomen. We just have to get the mind-body pathway opened up to help us do that. So now gradually, as you feel that you've got a bit of engagement here through the lower abdomen and a little bit of drawing down back through the center of the lower abdomen and the belts fastened, we're going to just check that the feet are still in line with the hip joints, center of the heel down, ball of the foot down, pad of the little toe engaged to the mat, and the toes stretching away from the base of the toe joints. And from here, we're going to work so firmly and deeply into the lower abdomen that it begins to roll the pelvis into the mat for a moment, lengthening the tailbone away from the crown of the head, and then little by little hover the pelvis away from the floor. We're going to try and quickly get the waist strength to pull in beneath into the back of the waist and the sides of the waist to roll up into this shoulder bridge position. As you come up, there should be some work in the backs of your legs and your bottom, but an awful lot of work through the core and also in the lower abdomen. So breathing in here, and then as you're ready again, breathing out to roll right back down through the spine, stretching your spine out to the mat. Breathing in to reset your neutral spine position. So your pelvic diamond, broad and wide, scoop and hollow in the lower abdomen, fastening the belt very firmly around the waist, and a nice lengthened neutral spine with a sense of space between the crown of the head and the tailbone. And then we aim to work really firmly and strongly out into the wide lower abdominal strength, using that to roll the pelvis for a moment, picking the tailbone up and then the sacrum, squeezing the strength of the waist into the back of the waist, sides of the waist, rolling up, breathing in up here, breathing wide the way we practice to avoid the abdomen from doming, keeping it nice and flat. And then once again, as you're ready, rolling back down through the spine from the crown of the head, through the spine and the rib cage, through to the sacrum, through to the tailbone. And as you breathe in, resetting your neutral spine. So let's give it another couple of goes in the shoulder bridge. So starting in that neutral spine position with lots of space between the tailbone and the crown of the head. Nice powerful broad and wide scoop and hollow in the lower abdomen and the belt firmly fastened. As we work into the lower abdominal strength, we're going to try and use it to help us maneuver the pelvis so that we're picking the tailbone up first. We need to really take that strength broad and wide out to the crests of the hip bones to lift the sacrum up between the ribs and between the pelvis and the spine, fastening the back of the waist in really firmly, sides of the waist squeezing in, front of the waist squeezing in, long line from the crown of the head through to the sacrum, through to the tailbone. Let's breathe in here really wide, and then once again, as you're ready, on the exhalation, rolling back down through the spine from the crown of the head all the way through to the tailbone. Breathing in here, resetting the neutral spine alignment. So once again, as you're ready, using that broad and wide scoop and hollow, letting the tailbone pick up first by really working into your lower abdominal strength, maneuvering the pelvis and the lower spine. Broad and wide scoop and hollow to lift the sacrum. Belt fastens, back of the waist, sides of the waist, front of the waist. Breathing in here, keep lengthening your spine towards your tailbone. And then once again, as you're ready, with the exhalation, rolling right back down again through the spine, and then breathing in to reset the neutral spine position. So that's the shoulder bridge, just having a look there at our lower abdominal strength in particular. And then let's think about coming away from the supine and trying a little bit of working with the lower abdominal strength in the prone. So when we're in the prone, the spine tends to feel a little bit heavy because of the way in which gravity is working on the spine, and also our internal abdominal organs tend to feel a little bit heavier than when we're lying on the back. And what I like to do as I come into the prone position is just to get that more or less 2 fist distance between my heels and 1.5 fist distance between my knees. And then I work on lengthening my spine between the tailbone and the crown of the head. And then I set my pelvic diamond in place with a really broad and wide scoop and hollow to support my pelvis here. I let the waist strength fasten into the back of the waist, the sides of the waist front. And as I lower myself towards the floor, lengthening my spine out as I come through, I keep hold of my core strength so my spine is a little bit supported away from the mat as I arrive in contact with the floor. When I get here, I'm still going to have to use my core strength some more to really get into my neutral spine position. But I can think again about that broad and wide scoop and hollow in the lower abdomen. Navel can pull to the spine to give me just a little bit of extra lift through the center of the abdomen. And then I'm going to imagine my belt beginning to either side of the spine, squeezing in very firmly from behind, helping to support me. Now sometimes it also helps, especially in prone, to imagine that your muscles are contracting in a little smile. So from the pubic bone, letting the muscles contract in a smile that widens outwards and upwards towards the crests of the hip bones. So it's a little arc of muscular contraction from the pubic bone out and around towards the crests of the hip bones. And that little bit of additional strength is sometimes very helpful. And we can work here, just working into our core strength, pelvic tilt, going a little bit beyond the neutral spine position. We flatten out the small of the back, and then releasing the core strength a little bit so that we come back to neutral. And then once again, our broad and wide scoop and hollow, breathing out, the smile, fastening the belt very firmly, and then coming back to the neutral position. And just give that another couple of goes here, squeezing, breathing in to release, and squeezing, breathing in to release to neutral. Let's hold on to our neutral spine here. Belt stays nice and fastened from behind, pelvic diamond working, checking that you're keeping the lift wide to the crests of the hip bones. So this part staying away from the floor and directed straight through into the mat. So we hold on to a core strength here, and let's squeeze in the gluteal muscles, letting your legs stay relaxed and the hamstrings, the muscles in the backs of the thighs staying relaxed, squeezing the gluteal muscles, and we're going to count as we keep breathing through 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Going to release the gluteal muscles but hold on to the core strength. Legs relaxed, shoulders wide, shoulder blades drawing down the back. Let's give it one more go here. Fastening the belt, pelvic diamond working. And again, we're going to squeeze the gluteal muscles, keeping the legs relaxed. And we're counting and breathing through 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Releasing the gluteal muscles, and this time as well we're going to relax the core strength. And then let's lift up from there. We'll just stretch the hips back and towards the heels to release the lower back. If your knees don't feel too happy, stretching right back like that, resting on the forearms instead, reaching the sitting bones up and back, letting your spine be nice and long here. Breathing, just breathing. Good. And then it's going to bring ourselves up towards seated. So although the movement involved in those prone exercises is quite small on the outside of the body, the intensity of the work is quite strong on the inside of the body, in the core strength, and then out into the gluteal muscles. The lower abdominal strength is really key to our ability to stabilize the spine in neutral in lots and lots of the Pilates exercises. And once we're able to get the midsection strength of fastening the belt around the waist going, and then the pelvic diamond or the smile strength in the lower abdomen going, both working together and staying engaged consistently, that's when we really start to feel our progress in Pilates moving forwards. Hope you've enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching, and hope to see you again soon.